Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the West Virginia Archives and History Library Thursday evening lecture. Our upcoming lectures are African American Life in Charleston, A Personal Perspective by James Estes. That's our block speaker series. That'll be September 25th at 6 o'clock right here in the library. On October 7th, 35 years studying and being part of the history of the Greenbrier by Dr. Bob Conte. That'll be right here in the library also. Also on our upcoming lecture series, you can always go to our website at www.westvirginiaculture.org and /history. And you can go to our website and see upcoming events and things. It'll be on the right-hand side of our website there, on our homepage actually. The evenings tonight, Bobby Taylor will present Family Heritage Music. The evening's program will be a combination of historical information on and musical performance of heritage music. Bobby will have several instruments on display. The exhibit also includes photographs. Accompanying Bobby on musical selections will be Kim Johnson on banjo and Charlie Dunlap on guitar. Last week I had Kim's name wrong, so that's... Library manager for Archives and History, Bobby Taylor, is a fourth-generation West Virginia fiddler. His father, Lincoln Taylor, was a fiddler who 3 weeks before his death in 2005 taught Bobby one more fiddle tune. His grandfathers, John Clinton Taylor and George Washington Moore, were fiddlers. Both of their fiddles and stories will be showcased in tonight's presentation. Other family musicians include his great-grandfather, Elijah Jefferson Taylor, Hasseltine Taylor Humphreys, Mike Humphreys, Lyle Taylor, and Reece Jarvis. Bobby plays several styles of old-time and contest fiddling, but got his early start from the legendary Clark Kessinger. In his presentation, he will share the influence of Kessinger and other legendary fiddlers, such as Ed Haley and Doc Roberts. Bobby is both a performer and an advocate of West Virginia fiddling. He was the 1977 West Virginia State Open Fiddle Champion, and in 2003 received the Footbridge Award from FootNad, Friends of Old Time Music and Dance, for his contributions to old time music. In 2010, Taylor was presented the Vandalia Award by the West Virginia Division of Culture and History. He has coordinated both the Vandalia Gathering and the Appalachian String Band Music Festival contest for more than 2 decades, and has served as a judge at the Gaelic Fiddlers Convention in Virginia, the Grandmasters Fiddle Championships in Nashville, Tennessee, and at other competitions. Bobby was a featured performer at the Library of Congress and the Kennedy Center in 2012, and the Library of Congress show was recorded for the permanent collection. He teaches fiddle also. Kim Johnson has played music with several old-time legendary musicians and has recorded with greats such as Wilson Douglas and Lester McCumbers. She plays 2 different styles of banjos made by the legendary Jenna's Contrail. Please welcome Bobby and his friends.
Thank you, Randy. It's a pleasure to be here tonight and to share some family heritage with you all. I think it's very important for each family to document their family heritage. And whether they made quilts, they were potters, they were musicians, they played a variety of styles of music. I've always tried to preserve my family heritage and collect everything I could collect regarding especially the fiddling. And In this presentation, we will be playing some music, and we will also, there will be some pictures that will be showcased on the screen, and as we go through, I will try to give little spots of history here and there. So I guess we're ready for the first picture up there, because I'm not sure what it is. Okay. What we have here is quite a special picture in my family. I would like to say, those of you who can see it, the picture on the table of the really old, rugged mountain man is John Oscar Taylor. John Oscar Taylor is the father of Elijah Jefferson Taylor, and they both fought in the Civil War. Elijah Jefferson is the old man in the picture, and Dad always talked about, Dad knew him. He died in 1927, but he was making molasses, and he got his beard on fire. And the few little statements I can remember like that, he said, I wouldn't have ruined my beard for all the molasses. So, now in the picture, as far as Leah Taylor starting to this end, great Aunt Hortensia, great Aunt Annie. I actually got to meet her before she died, and this picture was taken way back about 1905, probably 1908. Dad took us up to visit the Cavenders, and I didn't know who I was visiting, but Dad took me in, and my little brother, Michael, who was 3 years younger, and he said, there's somebody I want you to meet. I still remember this ancient old lady, because to a little boy, you know how people look really old, and now they don't look as old as they used to. But I remember her sitting in a chair, and he said, this is Aunt Annie. It was my great aunt. Now coming on down, that's Aunt Annie's girl, and I'm not sure of her name. But very important in the picture is Lyle Taylor. Lyle Taylor died shortly after that picture was taken. He was a fiddler that was, according to Hasseltine and Sam or Reece B. Jarvis, was the best fiddler they had ever heard. And come on down, Orrin Taylor. Now that is Old Nick. That's what I played Old Nick in the last showcase. But he had no fingers on his right hand. He had to hold the bow kind of like that to play. But yet he was a formidable contestant and won many contests and beat all the greats of the time. But he was the son of Lyle Taylor. Leonard is the banjo player, the little boy on the end. And at this point, I guess we'll go to the next picture. John Clinton Taylor. He was my grandpa. And that picture of him was when he was younger. Most of the pictures we found of him, he was quite old. And John Clinton Taylor, when Lyle Taylor died, who I showed you in the previous picture, John Clinton, my grandpa, had a fiddle, but he got rid of that one, as the story goes. And Lyle Taylor had the nicer fiddle, he thought so, at his death. This is Lyle Taylor's fiddle and John Clinton's. And Dad had it all set up, and the bridge got kind of lost, and it wasn't really playable. Dad has some instruments there, and I will talk about them a little later. But for right now, John Clinton Taylor had recorded on an old Edison. record. And the tune was Fisher's Hornpipe. We was never able to find that record. I'd give anything to hear that, but I haven't been able to locate it. I tracked the copy that Dad got to hear all the way to a fire where it had burned up. But in either case, I'm going to take my coat off, and we'll have Charlie Winter over here, who's played with me for more than 40 years. So the fact that we're only 45, that has nothing to do with it. So I'm going to take my jacket off because I can't play in this thing. Okay, let's see, what bow would be good for tonight? Well, let's see if this one sounds good. We're going to play you now. I guess I'm going to move this first.
Over here?
Yeah, I'm going to move it just a little bit over out of the way. So that we have room to stand and you all can see. Is that still okay? Okay, Charlie, if you would like to join us, we're going to play a little bit of Fisher's Hornpipes.
You want to stand up?
Yeah.
Let me go get a strap.
Oh!
You can bring your chair
Bring
over
a
here.
chair over
Bring a
there.
chair over here.
Bring a chair. And it would be fine to sit, but they can't see us, I don't think. We're going to play Fisher's Hornpipe, and my grandpa was known for that, like I said. I got all these fiddles, and they were in tune. We'll see how they do on a rainy night.
Better than me.
Huh?
Better than me.
Well, banjo isn't even a real instrument. Well, wherever I can get and have a lot of clearance.
Okay.
Well, they probably can't see you from there.
That'd be okay. Just
You want to be right here?
I'll be good.
Ah,
I'll be good.
well, I'll try to
Well,
get over there so they can
just play.
Okay. We rehearsed this well.
We did. It was a well-worn machine.
Okay, Fisher's Hornpipe. This is the old fiddle that I learned to play on, first started. I was 13. Dad had decided that maybe us boys was old enough to respect his most prized possession. My dad's dad, John Clinton, gave it to him on his deathbed. So you can imagine how important it was. So this fiddle, I got to carry it 1.5 miles across the hill home. To the car to bring it home from Roane County. But this was Lyle Taylor's fiddle. It's a beautiful fiddle. And so also Lyle Taylor's fiddle as well. So now we're ready to, see what's next. More stuff.
It's kind of heavy, maybe.
I probably won't need it again, so.
Get it
Okay. Okay, now what we have here is 3 fiddlers in Roane County. Got to see one reference to Bird Ray, who I don't know if he was a relative or not. I just don't know. But I know that Dad always said that there was 3 mighty fine fiddlers in that picture. You got my grandpa, John Clinton Taylor, and Lyle Taylor. And they were brothers. John Clinton was older than Lyle, but Lyle died, like I said, probably around 1908 or 10 is what I'm guessing. There is no death record that we could ever find on him. Okay, let's go to the next screen. This here is another one of Lyle Taylor with his family. And you can see that Orrin, or Old Nick, doesn't have any fingers on that right hand, but yet he beat all the top contestants in the Kanawha and surrounding areas at times. So he was not just a fiddler that was just ordinary. He was quite exceptional, just like his dad was very exceptional. And I guess we're ready for the next one. This fiddle, this picture is beyond special to me because what we have here is John Clinton Taylor, the only picture of him holding a fiddle. As blurry as it is, and this is a big gang of people that was in that picture. But Andrew Dunlap noticed, the first thing he noticed was, well, who's next to him with the banjo? None of us ever figured out that next to him with the banjo, if you see between the 2 ladies there, there's the banjo. That is William Lewis Taylor, which was John Clinton's older brother. And they played together, and it's so neat to see him with the banjo there. That picture there is probably one of my most prized possessions because of the instruments that are in the picture. I do apologize for my voice. It is what it is. It's breaking on me. But Great Uncle Luke, that they called him, William Lewis, his fiddle is here. And it's cross-keyed and no chin rest. Well, actually, I think I'll wait to play this and I'll just show it for the moment because I'm getting ahead of my story. But that's Great Uncle Luke's fiddle. Let's go to the next frame. And you have at the plow here, that's Great Uncle Luke again. And he lived in Charleston in his latter years. He died in the latter, I think, 1940s. But let's go another picture. Okay, at this point, this is my mother, Merle Taylor, and she did pronounce it Merle. It was spelled M-U-R-I-E-L, but she did not like you to call her Muriel. Her name was Merle. And so my mother's parents is George Washington Moore, and I've got some of my relatives here from my Moore side of the family, and that's Eva Jane Hively Moore and George Washington Moore. And recently got his fiddle all set up, and it will be in A. Yeah, I'll play. I was so fortunate to get get it set up, and it didn't have no keys. My dear friend Joe Dobbs, who's here tonight, helped me get some keys that would fit in it, and we got it all set up. But Grandpa Moore must have been a fairly decent fiddler from what I can understand, because he had showmanship. He would kind of play Cripple Creek, and he would kind of make the kids all laugh, and he'd joke around with the fiddle. Well, to be able to joke around with the fiddle, you have to have some talent, because number one, I can't hardly joke around and play anything. So, but this is George Moore's fiddle. So I brought it back to life, and we're going to play a little bit of Cripple Creek in his memory. And it's in A. Do note different, by the way. And they are, a fiddler's fiddle has to be pretty special to them because it's custom to them. So it's a little, the notes are all in a little different place. So if you hear me floundering around trying to find it, that's what I'm doing. Now then, I guess we're ready for the next frame there. Now this is my dad. It wasn't taken too long before his death, and he is playing there. People would come by the house and to play music. So Dad had a great last few years, I would like to think, of his life, because everybody that come through the door, he held them hostage. They had to play with him, and that's just the way it was. So Dad loved to play for people, and he was a beautiful double shuffle stout fiddler. And I would say that his Soldier's Joy, I always figured I'd never get it as good as him, and even though I have played a lot of other very more technical stuff, I still could never get his Soldier's Joy as good as him, because he had the most beautiful little double shuffle going on that I haven't heard really hardly anybody do exactly the way he did. I've heard a lot of the old fiddlers do a beautiful double shuffle, but Dad's was a little different. Now, Dad made, this was one of his favorite fiddles. For me to figure out of the hundreds he made, I put a Demco little label on there, so I could always figure that this was Dad's favorite pocket knife fiddle. When I was a little boy and couldn't be trusted with some of the nicer instruments in the house, Dad made me that. Now it's put together very nicely with natives. So it was made for me, and it is, well, it's not even.
You want to play it?
No, I'm not going to play it. Dad always said that when I had one of my big gigs, he was going to stick one of these pocket knife fiddles in there and take my Hazlet out. I would arrive at the gig with that to play. So that was his little standing joke. But I guess for Dad there, I will play Soldier's Joy. It won't be as good as he did it, I'm sure, but we'll play a little bit of Soldier's Joy. And I'm going to play it on the Hazlet, which is a beautiful, beautiful fiddle. Harold Hazlet lives here in South Charleston, and he is 96 years old. And he won a gold medal out of 17 countries for tone. So this is a pretty incredible instrument, and we'll try Soldier's Joy.
Go ahead. Humphreys style slipping in there. So with a little more notey. Okay, let's go on to another. I like that one.
That's great. But Dad also made the little
Yeah.
stomper doll, which dances.
Kinda.
Yeah, Dad made Sarah. He seen it, he made it. You know, that's just the way the old timers was with their pocket knives and all that. But that's Dad sitting in the living room there, and he couldn't see hardly at all the last years of his life. But he loved people, and he especially loved young kids, and wanted to see them learn to play the fiddle and do wonderful things. But Dad passed away in 2005 at 94 and a half years old. So he outlived about everyone that I know of in our family history. So he had a long run there. I guess we're ready for the next. Okay, that is Ed Haley now, James Edward Haley. Yeah. Ed Haley was not a member of my immediate family. Here is a little bit of Dunbar. Ed Haley has been a standard of excellence in fiddling and also mystery. Some of the stuff that he did with the bow and his patterns was very hard to duplicate. Clark Kessinger said that Ed Haley was the greatest fiddler he ever heard. And when I see some of Ed Haley's, or hear some of his bowings there, which I won't play, but it's just very complicated how he attacked the fiddle and how his bow and notes come together. Just really unique. That's one concept of how that's a little bit of Dunbar, like he was playing there so perfectly. Let's move on to oh no.
Oh, too late. Got another picture.
Okay, we've got another one of Ed Haley. Ed Haley died in 1951. He was born in 1885. And he was a blind fiddler. Martha Ella, his wife, they raised their family. They were both blind. And when Ed Haley would come to all the areas like Clay County, Logan County, he was the big star. When he come to town, the farmers all, whatever they was doing in the fields, they went to hear Ed Haley. So he was the true star of the time. And that's why I include him in my family heritage, because his influence went everywhere, just as Clark Kessinger. But we'll play a little bit of a G tune now. I should have told you that,
You
maybe.
should, yes.
Three Forks of Sandy is a neat tune, and at the Grandmaster Fiddler Championship that has added a category for the old traditional style in their fiddle contest. A young, guess what won it? An Ed Haley tune. So what else is new there? But I'm going to play a little bit of Three Forks of Sandy.
Is that his fiddle?
This is, oh, by the way, thanks, Charlie. There's so much to get in this little frame of time. Anytime you see the ribbon that comes out, the holy grail of fiddles, this is Ed Haley's fiddle that made the recordings as near as we can tell. And John Hartford, Gentle on My Mind, that wrote the very popular song, calligraphed Ed Haley's name on the little ribbon. When I took the fiddle to Fort Townsend in 2013, it never flies, but it made an exception there. It got to go to Fort Townsend. So somebody else gave it the name, the Holy Grail of Fiddles. So here it is, Ed's fiddle. So Three Forks of Sandy. Three Forks of Sandy. That's fast.
Yeah, it was a little quick.
That's fast. So that picks it up a bit. A little bit of Ed Haley in there, and some of Clark Kessinger starting to emerge there with some of the speed at least. But Clark Kessinger's bowing, he got a lot of it from Ed Haley licks. Ed Haley had just a very good library of licks on the fiddle. And some of the flip back licks that I was doing there are very difficult to do. And I'm too old to do, so somebody younger needs to do them. So, okay, let's go to another.
Another fiddler, you want to guess it is?
I have no idea who it's going to be, so oh my goodness. Now everything will sound not as smooth. The smoothest fiddler I ever heard in my life was Sam Jarvis, and he won everything going. Sam Jarvis, his grandmother was Sarah Jane Paxton. My great-grandmother, America Paxton, they were sisters. So that's how I tie into Sam Jarvis. Sam Jarvis rarely lost a fiddle contest. There was a lot of fiddlers every bit as good, in my opinion, for different reasons. But, oh, he was so smooth. I mean, just incredibly smooth. And the fiddle that he's playing there, it's hard to tell, but I do know that he used to borrow Uncle Luke's fiddle to play in the contests. This one here. So that makes it even more historical to bring Sam Jarvis into the picture, and that was one of his favorite fiddles to play. It's cross-keyed now. What I mean by cross-key, does anybody here know what I mean by cross-key? There's some musicians here that does, I know. But it's tuned D, G, D, G at the moment. Let's go to another picture. Oh my goodness. One of the ultimate kings, of course, Clark Kessinger, 3 times world champion, with Gene Meade, who was unbelievable on guitar.
This might be loud, I don't know.
Clark was, and if you thought I was playing fast, okay. He was old, but he was fast. What did you see a little, or hear a little similarity in my 3 Forks of Sandy and the speed and the bowing there? I learned a lot from Clark Kessinger. He really pioneered fiddling in America. From his 1928 to 1930 recordings that went all over the United States, Brunswick Records, his Wednesday Night Waltz, sold over 1 million copies, which was unheard of, you know, in that time period. Clark Kessinger, John Hartford made this statement, and I think I figured out what he meant by it. He said that Ed Haley was the grandfather of fiddling in America. Well, Ed Haley's fiddle is there, and guess what? Clark learned a whole lot of those licks and everything from Ed Haley. But Clark Kessinger put fiddling on the map by recording so many tunes so early, and he recorded them at a high level of talent that is very hard to attain, get to today. He was a real smooth, slick fiddler in the 20s, and later in the 60s, when this was recorded, he become a very driving show stopper. I mean, when he's on stage, he would even dance and play the fiddle. So if you think you could steal his thunder, forget it. On the Grand Ole Opry, when Flatt and Scruggs had him on there, guess who got the encores? As great as they were, Clark Kessinger upstaged. So that's just how it was. Well, let's see. After Sam Jarvis there, a really smooth style. We'll get into some of the different styles here. This is Clark Kessinger's fiddle. And I think we'll be in G.
Oh, that's good.
That's good, huh?
Yeah.
This is Clark Kessinger's bow. And he had this bow since the 20s. And it's a very old Dernberger bow. Closely related to the other tune I just played. I wonder if I should play those back to back. I'm going to play a tune that I learned from Clark Kessinger, a good bit of it. Of course, I've made all these tunes my own style. So even though I've learned tunes and try to keep, fairly true to the source, I always remember one thing that Mike Humphreys said. He said, make the tune yours. He said, don't play it like me, make it yours. Incidentally, I just noticed something. Does anybody know what tune Clark Kessinger is playing in this picture? There's a few fiddlers that probably might know. Anybody know what tune he's playing by going on the other side of the fiddle?
Well,
Joe, you probably know.
it looks like
You got it.
Mockingbird.
It's the Mockingbird. Okay, let's play a little bit of Sandy River Belle.
Okay.
Oh boy, do they know different.
Yeah. But I'm not doing it right yet. Let's see here. Now then, let's see what the next picture is. Oh my goodness. Another king of the fiddlers. There is just no words that I can put to describe Mike Humphreys' ability. I don't know if we've got a soundtrack, but he was so smooth, slick, and technical. You don't beat Mike Humphreys ever. There's several of Mike Humphreys' family here tonight. I'm so thrilled that his relatives, of which I happen to be one of them, too, because we all come down from John Oscar Taylor. John Oscar's son, James Oscar, was Hasseltine Humphreys' father. Mike was Hasseltine's son. Mike was a tremendous
fiddler, as you could hear from the recording there. Let's see what I can play and even come close to anything. Huh? Oh, okay. Now then, we have Hasseltine Humphreys. Extremely beautiful lady, as you can see. Unbelievable fiddler. The only contest that I heard of her playing in, she was practicing up and all the great fiddlers was going to be in it. And at that time, a lot of ladies did not play fiddle. There just wasn't many of them. Like today, we're so thrilled to have so many young and older alike ladies playing fiddle. But she said they're going to have a contest at Clendenin tonight. So she was practicing up. They asked her why. She said, well, there's going to be a contest and I'm going to go win it. The greats were all in there. She won it. She was Lyle Taylor's, not necessarily a student, but that was the person that she patterned her playing after. The really smooth, pretty fiddling. And there's debate to this day that Mike was not better than her. Clark was not better than her. So there's still that legend that goes. And I would have given anything to have heard her, but the only recording, somebody had it, and Lester Flatt come on TV and Earl Scruggs, and they grabbed the first tape they had and erased all of her. And there's so much out there of our beloved Flatt and Scruggs, but there wasn't anything else from Hasseltine. So that just wasn't. Okay, let's see here. Well, I think what we'll do now is a little bit of Patty on the Turnpike. Boy, I tell you, beam me up, Scotty, to try to play that. That's in G2, and that's in reference to Mike, and we'll leave Hasseltine's picture up because we'll try to... But that is a different style, as you can tell from Clark Kessinger's style. It was driving, it was fast, but rolling, like Sam Jarvis. Putting the two fiddlers together, that's kind of what I would come up with there. Now then, moving to another very historical fiddle. This is Hasseltine's fiddle. It hasn't made it to the stage in many, many years. But this fiddle was passed down, and it come through the Humphreys family, to Jeannie Tabor, and she's here tonight, and then to Teresa, who was a great fiddler. And now I'm kind of the custodian of it that kind of shows it off. And it's like I say, a historical artifact, and it's such an honor to be able to play it tonight. Hasseltine's playing was very rhythmic, a very neat bow that's known among the Taylor fiddlers that I don't play a whole lot out. But if you take a simple little tune like Buffalo Gals, which is a simple little dance tune, and you add some of the bowings, like I think as I try to figure out how Hasseltine might have played that tune. So I'm thinking that I'll have some of her bowing in this, I hope. But anytime you hear it starting to double up, she was known to be very smooth, very slick, and very clean and doubling with the bow, and approaching it from a unique style. Yep. Okay, that's the end. So now then, I would like to say regarding Hasseltine's fiddle is something that I usually will not allow anyone to play with anymore. Anybody know what these are?
Fiddlesticks.
There you go.
Gee.
These are the only original ones that I've ever seen in a case surviving that were little thumb holds on it. So, incidentally, the great fiddle maker Harold Hazlitt, we decided to have him make some. So these are out of Pernambuco, fiddlesticks made by Harold Hazlitt. Pretty spectacular. He was like 95 when he made it. So these are pretty. And then he had roughed out a couple more that, in case he broke those. And he gave me the wood, so he didn't sign his. But I figured they take time to make. So I put my little RLT on mine that I made. So these are the ones that I made. And do I have any takers to play fiddlesticks?
Oh my.
All Kim can do it. Kim can do it. If Jeannie would like to, that would be great.
You wanna do it, Jeannie? I'll do it. I've never done it. Then they go climb.
You want the heavier or the lighter? Those are
Whatever you got.
this.
Those are good.
Those are a little heavier.
Jeannie, you do it?
Mom's up.
Oh, come on up.
Come on, Mom.
Go, go, go.
Come on up. Yeah.
Well, if you want me to, I will.
No.
You're here.
No, I tell you, to have Jeannie Tabor on stage makes my
Mine too.
huh? Well, I tell you. I'm trying to think of something that'd be good. How about a little bit of like McLeod's Reel or something like that, or Uncle Joe? Jeannie's uncle was Mike Humphreys. And so that makes the night very, very special. And the fiddlesticks was played on Hasseltine's fiddle. And the tune I played was Sam Jarvis's Muskrat Rag that he played earlier. I just remembered that. But he played it much nicer than I played. I had fiddlesticks and he didn't. Okay, now then, what else can I do that I haven't done here? Huh? Well, we'll take 2 or 3 minutes. We might try this with just fiddle and banjo. This is the old mountain tuning, no chin rest. Oh my goodness. And I played my whole life without a chin rest until I damaged my left hand. Yeah. Piney Mountain, a lot of different fiddlers that play it a lot of different ways. Here's yet another one. I added a little bit of Ed Haley to the mix and tried to get some of his mysterious sounds. So we'll see what lands. is the one that probably Sam Jarvis used in most of the contests that he won. And that tune, You Piney Mountain, I tried to figure out in Ed Haley's mind, what would he do on that? So that disjointed bowing there on the one part is what I would figure he would kind of do on that particular number. Now then, we're moving back to Clark Kessinger. And, oh, God, let's see here. Yep, I'll use his bow. Okay. I'm known for doing the triple bow jump, and I will do approximately 3 more tunes that people usually like to hear and request more than any. So you're in D, aren't you? Oh. Licks come out in these tunes. I kind of call them the kitchen sink type tunes where you throw whatever hits you in them. We're going to play Durang's hornpipe. And I've got Hazlitt number 19 out and Clark Kessinger's bow. So. It is an honor, I would like to say, to be the custodian, not owner, but custodian, of some of the most historic fiddles there is in West Virginia, and anywhere for that matter, being Ed Haley's, Clark Kessinger's, Hasseltine Humphreys, and not to speak of very special family connection with George Moore's fiddle and John Clinton Taylor's. And I would like to say also that Oral Henderson made fiddles, and he was my first cousin, my dad's sister's boy. He passed away in 1995, but his fiddles were known for their beautiful craftsmanship, and he had all these pretty designs and flowers and whatever going around the side. And people that have them won't hardly let those go. They're very special. I don't have it tuned up, but if you ever see a fiddle on stage, and you will, with a little diamond in the fingerboard, it's usually a Henderson. He made a lot of them. And he always said that he wanted to make fiddlers for the fiddlers. He said there's plenty made for the violinists, but he wanted this very mellow, deep sound that the fiddlers like. So he made them for the fiddlers. And the one that got him started making them is number 19, for its dark, very deep sound. That's a tribute to Harold Hazlitt there. Okay, here's one, if I don't cough through it, Durang's hornpipe. triple bow jump. Clark Kessinger showed me the triple bow jump after he had suffered a stroke. His left hand no longer worked. But at 16, 17 years old, I thought to myself, I bet though if I did the notes and he did the bow, maybe I could catch what he was doing. Would you believe I did? He sat in just a straight back chair and I held it over and he did the bow and I did the notes. So that's how I learned the triple bow jump. And here's another one of Clark Kessinger, kind of a tune with a little bit of Mike Humphreys and all the other fiddlers put in. I'll play you a couple rounds of Redbird, which is another great contest piece. won a lot of contests. If you land those and land them real good, you might win. That's just, there's a good chance you might win. As a matter of fact, Galax had Durangs, Poker River Blues, and Bow the Cabbage Down as the winning top three places, I think. So, let's see here. I'm going to play, I found, well, I think, what is it? Okay. I'm going to play one more tune, but I want to tell you a little bit about Redbird that I just played. That was a tune that our Senator Byrd from West Virginia, he was a fiddle player, and that was one of his favorite tunes. And when they gave him the Perry F. Harris Award in Nashville, he said he would come and get his award if I played Redbird. So I was judging the contest, so they had to bring me out to play Redbird. So that's how, that was one of his absolute favorite tunes. Now the kitchen sink tune that I'll close with and open it up to a few questions is Sally Gooden, that I pull in a lot of the techniques of a lot of fiddlers. And so I try to put a representation of a lot of styles in this. So, no, I never know what's coming. So, in case you wonder, did I rehearse the way I'm playing it? No. We don't know what's going to land or not. them. And at this point, I could go on for hours on any of the instruments or any of the styles, but there's not time to do that. They do lock the doors here after a while. But I will open it up to a few questions. If anybody has questions for me or Kim or Charlie, we'll be happy to try and answer. Yes, sir.
That was such a great performance, and this is kind of an odd question, but the man that didn't have the fingers on the hand, how would he, could you kind of somewhat demonstrate how he might have?
They said that he hooked his thumb, see, he had just little, almost stubs there. He had to hold it probably something like that, which would have taken some getting used to, because the wrist action and everything would be changed. But the tune that Mike Humphreys played in the video was Old Nick. Old Nick and Mike were friends, and they both wrote that tune. And Old Nick was not old. He was 52 when he died. So I'm not sure where they come up with the name Old Nick. But in either case, he was about to play in a fiddle contest somewhere and said that he had broke that arm. But he was playing with a cast on. I told Mike, I said, well, he couldn't play that way. Mike said, somebody should have told him. But in either case, they were two great, great fiddlers that were friends. Other questions?
Why does the one fiddle not have a neck?
A chin rest?
Chin.
The old-time fiddlers, a lot of the old-time fiddlers held the fiddle down here. Ed Haley even held it down here some of the time in some pictures, I think. All of my ancestors, if you've seen the picture of Dad up there, he was holding it down here. Some of the old fiddlers, though, would put them on there because they thought it dressed it up a little and looked nicer. But I learned to play with the fiddle down here. But a lot of the old-timers didn't have them, didn't need them. Any other questions? Yes?
Was Hasseltine Mike's mother or grandmother?
Hasseltine was Mike Humphrey's mother, yes.
Okay.
She was Kova's mother, and Jeannie is Kova's daughter. And she's here. And from the Moore family, I have Bernice and Kenny here. And that's wonderful to have my mother's side of the family represented too. And my mother's sister Tressie, her daughter is Bernice. So we trace the lineage back, and there's a lot of music in my lineage, yes.
Bobby, are there family members after you still playing and carrying on the family tradition?
Not the Taylor family. But I consider all of the people that's learned from me my family. So there's quite a few fiddlers out there, and I don't want to name any of them because I may leave out some. But there's a slew of young fiddlers that are carrying on some of the techniques that I do, and I'm happy about that. Anything else? Yes.
Did most of these men and the women, did most of them farm, and was this just, except maybe for the blind couple, it sounded like they were playing most of the time. But
These were hard-working farmers.
this was like a hobby.
This was their hobby. In the evening time, they would fiddle. And my grandparents, John Clinton and Ari Ann Walls Taylor, my dad's mother and father, their house was way hidden in Rome County in the woods. And some of the ministers, like the Paxtons, distant relatives, they would come from a long east preaching, and they'd spend the night at Grandma's house. And she didn't have no education. And no matter what hour they got there, she would always fix them supper. Other questions?
Don't leave out Ogie and Silas Taylor.
Okay. There was Uncle Luke's fiddle here. There's Lyle and John Clinton's, but all those people played the fiddle. As Mike just stated, there's Okie Taylor, who was a left-handed fiddler, who was a very good fiddler. There's Silas. He was known to be the dance fiddler, so he had a very raucous bow. And Silas Taylor, Dad went to a dance when he was very young, and said, Silas got to the dance, and he said, no, I can't fiddle, I'm way too tired. He'd come from Ohio. He had 16 kids, I think, and I think 2 sets of twins. So anyway, he got to the dance, and he said, no, I'm too tired to play. So there was another fiddler there playing, and somebody took him out, Dad said, and gave him a couple snorts of white lightning or something. And he come back in there and he said, you're not doing much good, let me have a hold of that fiddle. Dad said at 2 o'clock in the morning he was just going like a freight train. So, there was just so many musicians in my family, and that makes me a 4th generation fiddler, maybe 5th. We don't know. All the men hunted, they gardened, and they pretty well fiddled. So John Oscar there would make me a 5th if he actually played, not a 5th of liquor, but a 5th of Yes.
Bob, we've looked at the beautiful fiddles and admired the way they're made, and we've heard their different sounds, but could you talk a little bit about the importance of the bows?
The bows are very important. You can pay anything from under $100. I think if you go by the Fret and Fiddle, Joe can sell you a bow for probably under $100. But also, bows can go well over $100,000. A Tuart and some of those kettle, a cot, will go way beyond $50,000. So the importance of the bows are, Clark Kessinger's probably did not know much about the bow. He only knew what worked for him. But maybe he didn't realize that what he was playing with was a Albert Nürnberger, which is a very fine bow from the 20s. And with this bow, he seemed to be in control of everything that he wanted to land. So the bow in itself is very historical. And another bow here that I do not begin to know, and I didn't play with it tonight, but it pulls one of the smoothest, prettiest sounds I've ever heard, but the hair has went together on it and it needs re-haired. The wedge has slipped and it's let the hair all bundle up. But the bow, even in the shape it's in, pulls just, you'll probably hear a difference how smooth it is. It's just a heavenly sounding bow. And the shop in New York, if I have the facts right, and I think I do, Vandervecken had a shop in New York. And he was vain enough that if a bow, he was a player too, but he was vain enough that if the bow, no matter who made it, was great, he would stamp his name under the frog that it was tonally perfect. So his name was Vandervecken, and the name is long wore off of this. I'm sure it could be authenticated by a top bow appraiser. But Vandervecken's name is still under the frog, so that means a lot to me. Any other? Yes?
You said your ancestors fought in the Civil War. Which side did they fight on?
I probably had, let's see, John Oscar Taylor, who is this person, and Elijah Jefferson, his son, were in the Union Army. I think I had some Confederates as well, because you see on the line where Roane County is, I know that Elijah Jefferson said on his way to go do what he conscientiously thought was the right thing for him, he was going to sign up for the Union Army in Spencer. And somebody asked him where he was going. He said, I only told one lie in my life, and that was it. He said, well, if you're going to sign up for the Union Army over there, I'd kill you right here, whoever it was he run into. So as you can see, there was pro-north and, well, whatever. There was north and south both in the area. Any other questions? Well, I would like to thank you all for coming and putting up with us and sharing the evening with us. I hope we did something that you all enjoyed and love sharing it, love passing it on to other people. So, whatever. Just remember in your lives, though, to hold on to cherished memories. Put little notes on things that was great-grandmas or great-grandpas. Find out your lineage, and you can do a lot of it online, but it's always good to come right to the source to do your family history, and that would be, if they were in West Virginia, that'd be right where you're at. So, hope to see you all back, and thanks for coming.